Today on Upfront, what's next for Governor Walker? He's back on the job full-time after the abrupt end of his bid for the White House. What happened and why is it so tough for Midwestern governors running for president? I'll ask someone who's been there, former Governor Tommy Thompson. Plus, does Governor Walker have fences to mend with state lawmakers? It's my question for Republican Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald.
Covering the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Up Front with Mike Goucher.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Up Front. It's been 7 days since Governor Walker ended his 70-day campaign for president, and the postmortems are still coming in. They say the campaign staff was too big and too expensive. Donations slowed after Walker's two uninspiring debate performances, and some pundits say the candidate himself simply wasn't ready for prime time. The governor returned to business at the state capitol quickly, tweeting out this picture and meeting with Republican lawmakers. He also pledged to serve out his current term. He made his first public appearance Friday in Beaver Dam.
I'm not going to look backwards, I'm going to look forward. My focus right now is on being governor. I've got the best job in the country. I was happy to go back to my day job and physically be here. I was never out of it, as the Speaker and the Majority Leader will tell you.
There is one person in Wisconsin who knows what Governor Walker is feeling right now. Former Governor Tommy Thompson.
Our candidate for President of the United States, Tommy Thompson.
He ran for president back in 2007. I sat down with him at his home in Madison last week to talk about the end of the Walker campaign. You went through the process.
I did
you
too.
ran for president. Were you surprised by what happened to Governor Walker?
I was not surprised. I thought he would last longer than he did. The only surprise was I thought he would probably get through the Iowa caucus. I was hoping he would. But when you run out of money, when your poll numbers go down, you know, your financial donors, they just abandon you. And when he had a bad debate the second time, didn't get the questions. When you grew up in the Midwest, you sort of don't interrupt people and raise a ruckus when you don't get the questions. So he didn't get the questions. His poll numbers were going down. His money was drying up. And we all know that Scott is a poor man, and he just didn't want to go in debt, I'm sure of it, and I'm sure his wife didn't either. So I think, but we have to give him credit for running. I like it when Wisconsin has a champion in the race, and I felt good for him that he was there. I probably feel more akin to what he's going through than anybody else, because I went through it, and I want to tell you something, that it's easier to announce than it is to resign from the race. It's got to be extremely difficult and very emotional for him today and the last couple days.
Did you ever talk to him about his run? Because
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Not recently.
Not recently?
I did. I told him I would help him and give him some advice on health care. He reached out to me on the health care speech in Minnesota. I thought it was a mistake to go to Minnesota and give the speech, but he did. He had a good proposal, and but it didn't get much play, and his labor union, raising havoc at the federal level, didn't get any play at all. And then the debate, he didn't get any questions. So it was just it was a tough time for Scott Walker.
Yeah, give me a sense of what it is about the difficulty in running for president. For example, a Midwestern governor. I mean, people could have argued that you had a strong conservative record. The governor argued that he had a strong conservative record. But yet it was hard being heard in today's environment. What is it about that you know?
Well, when I ran, I think there were 12 candidates. When Scott Walker ran, there were 17 candidates. It's hard, you know, when you announce 70 days ago, and every week there's a new flavor of the month or flavor of the week, a new candidate, and the press has got to give that candidate some coverage. And so it's difficult to get your message out. And Scott Walker started out very strong, but then all the other candidates, then Donald Trump came in, the Trump phenomena, who
What do you think of that? What do you think of the Trump
phenomena?
phenomena?
Sucked the oxygen out of all the room. I think, Donald Trump is going to have a tough time, getting the nomination, but he certainly is colorful, and he's saying things that people want to hear, and people are reporting on him. And as a result of that, other candidates like Scott Walker and all the other candidates are saying, raise their hand, me too, but Donald Trump gets front and center.
Is he somebody a guy like you could support if he were the nominee? You don't think he will be, but if he were, could you support somebody like Donald Trump?
if Donald Trump was the nominee of the Republican Party, which I do not believe, that he's going to be, but if it was between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, there is no question I would be a strong Donald Trump supporter. I think, but I don't think Hillary's going to be in the race.
You don't think so?
No, I think by Thanksgiving Hillary Clinton will be out of the race, and Joe Biden is going to be the nominee, and I think Elizabeth Warren is going to be the vice presidential candidate of the Democratic ticket. Mark my word.
Let me ask you about the return home for the governor. So now he comes back to being a full-time governor.
Right.
And let's face it, he was on the road a lot, so he wasn't as involved. What does he do now that he returns? Because some would argue that his stature has been diminished some. He has to do some repair work with members of the legislature. What would you advise him if you were offering advice?
If he would listen to me, what I would tell him to do is first take 2 weeks off. Just go away with Tonette and go on vacation and get your head, free and clear of all the presidential debris. Then I would say to Scott Walker, go around to every county in this state, 72. Set up shop in every single county. Go out and say, I want to reacquaint myself to the state of Wisconsin. I want to talk to the people of the state, and I want to be the best governor I possibly can be. That's what I would advise him to do.
Do you think he has any repair work to do with Republican members of the legislature?
Sure. I mean, he was gone, and he left them a bad budget and didn't give them the leadership that they expected. And so, sure, there's some hurt feelings, but they're easy, they're easy to encourage them to get back on the team. That's not a big problem.
Okay, give me your best political instinct on this. You ever see him running for president again?
No.
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 Why not?
It's too hard. I mean, it's too hard. It's too hard to run for president the first time, and to have to bow out after 70 days after you announce. I give him a lot of credit. I want to thank him for running. I think it was good, but I can't envision a possibility for him running for re-election for governor or for presidency of the United States again.
Coming up next, does Governor Walker have to rebuild or repair relations with state lawmakers? I'll be asking the Senate Majority Leader, Scott Fitzgerald. And later, the new Milwaukee Arena is officially a go. How will Milwaukee County come up with its share of the cost? Will the county still go after debt collection? My interview with County Executive Chris Abele when Up Front continues.
Up Front with Mike Goucher, brought to you by the American Transmission Company and the Wisconsin Corn Growers Association.